to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Dave Candido.
And we're coming at you with 1985's Arnold Schwarzenegger, the ultimate classic, Commando. There's my big fat Japanese laserdisc one right there.
Is that a laserdisc?
Yeah, so that's a laserdisc. I literally have the entire collection of Arnold stuff on laserdisc. I'm not missing a single one.
Well, that's pretty cool.
I was going to collect the Betamax ones next, but Betamax tapes are way more expensive than Laserdisc. They're like $100 a piece. I was like, $100 for a used copy of Commando on Betamax. I don't even have a Betamax player. It's one of those ones. I'll stick to like
Betamax is.
So that was the other pretty much VHS. So there was VHS and there was Betamax. And Betamax is a little bit higher quality because generally whatever is the most high quality version never seems to make it. It's always the cheaper format that kind of makes it out at the end of the day, which makes sense. I mean, if a VHS in 1984 was like $80, like a Betamax is probably $140.
Wow. Yeah, no,
and
I'll still clear that.
Yeah. So yeah, I collected the Arnold Schwarzeneggers on DVD. I collected them on VHS. I got the Laserdiscs. I even have all the UMDs, though there is a couple ones in like Europe that I can pick up. There's like a Batman and Robin one.
The PSP?
Yeah, those ones. If I remember correctly, Arnold's got like 5 or 6 of them in the U.S., and then there's like 2 more of them, I think, in like England. There's like a Batman and Robin one, but it's like $70. And so it's kind of like, okay, at some point I wouldn't mind having it. And then there's like one other movie, maybe Terminator 3, but I think I have Terminator 3. I can't remember. There's one other one that was not released in the U.S., but yeah, so I got that big fat collection, and then of course I got the 4Ks and the Blu-rays and all that stuff. But I like Arnold a lot. If you haven't got that across yet,
I love Arnold, man. I mean, we've talked about it before. I'm trying to knock out all the big time action stars films. You know, Arnold, Stallone, Van Damme, Dolph Lundgren, so on and so forth. And Arnold's just always the one I never mind going back to. Commando was one of the first Arnold films that I watched all the way through when it comes to his action films. And I knew from that day, I'm like, this is like peak action film right here. And you sent me this little short, it was like a 15-minute video earlier about kind of behind the scenes on Commando. And that was awesome too. Like just seeing how it was kind of they were talking about, it's kind of the start to those big, heavy action, ridiculous, exaggerated action films. I think Predator came after.
Predator's 87. Because like I was kind of thinking about it too. Because for some reason I thought Raw Deal came beforehand, but actually Raw Deal comes afterwards. Yeah, so Commando is really the first one that Arnold gets pretty much, in a sense, be the Arnold character. Because I was thinking about, I'm like, Commando's almost the most Arnold movie there is out there. Now, I know people mostly gravitate towards Conan and especially Terminator as the biggest Arnold movies, but if you think about it, in those two, he's playing characters in a sense. In Conan, he's playing Conan the Barbarian. And in Terminator, he's playing, the robot and so on like that. Where Commando is literally, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger as his character, you know what I mean? And like as himself just cranked up to 11, and being the action military star. He's got the comedy coming in here. It kind of introduces so much of like what would be the Arnold formula, and I hate to sort of say it, but I really do think that that's almost the ultimate Arnold movie. If someone never saw a single thing of Arnold, I actually think Commando might be the best one to be like, this, if you want to encapsulate all that is Arnold in one movie, Commando is 100% it.
For sure. And he even tops it off with the "I'll be back" line.
Yeah, I know. He brings it back, and that's what I was thinking about, like in Last Action Hero, when Danny says to him, he's like, "You always say that, it's almost like your calling card. People are just waiting for you to work it into the movie."
Yep. Yeah. So looking at his filmography here, this movie, rewatching it, I was looking at the films that came before it and the films that came after it, and I didn't realize all the ones that came before it. I knew there was a handful, but I didn't realize Red Sonja, which he's not the main character, but
he's still in it quite a bit. Yeah, I like Red Sonja quite a bit. I know that movie always kind of got some flack back in the day, but I always think it's like kind of having like your third Conan movie. I mean, not as good as the first two, but like it's still, I still feel like it fits in like fine, like a trilogy almost.
Yep. And then like everything before Conan, I've not seen. I've only seen scenes from Pumping Iron.
Yeah. Pumping Iron.
So everything before Conan and the Barbarian, I haven't seen. And I'm like, man, now I have to see all of that. I haven't seen Raw Deal, so I got to see that too. And,
I like Raw Deal quite a bit too. That's another one of those ones that seems kind of like a B movie for Arnold, but I think it's pretty darn good.
And I've seen, like I've seen quite a few movies of his after that. After what is it? After Commando, of course. Predator, Running Man, Kindergarten Cop. Well, actually, I've only seen parts of Kindergarten Cop, Total Recall, Terminator 2, Terminator. Terminator's before Commando. But
yeah, Terminator's right beforehand and so on.
But yeah, just it kind of reignited that flair for all the Arnold's filmography. And now I'm gonna go down the Arnold rabbit hole after this one, just like I did when I first saw this when I was like, I don't know, 11 years old. And it is though, it's not over the top with the one-liners. Like some of the Arnold films are just like riddled with the one, which I love. Actually, I think the Arnold films are like the top of the line one-liner action films. Just hilarious.
Yeah, it's like him and 007 kind of got the best one-liners because Bond's really good with the one-liners too. And I always feel Bond's the guy who invented the one-liner.
Yeah, I got to take a deeper dive into Bond. I've only seen a couple. Like I saw From Russia with Love, and then a couple of the Brosnan films, and then I think only 3 of the Daniel Craig films. Otherwise, I haven't seen much of Bond.
No, we should throw some Bonds in there because I kid you, like Bond is literally one of my all-time favorite things. Like a lot of times when I think of like the movie like series or whatever that's my favorite, Arnold's my all-time favorite. And I use Arnold as a broad term, but like he's just my ultimate favorite actor ever since I was a little kid. Nothing but the best. But then following that is I love 007. Of course, I love Jurassic Park and so on like that, and mainly Jurassic Park as in the earlier movies. But yeah, 007 is like, I love the living daylights out of that. But that's always one of those ones I always kind of wonder for people. It's either you're kind of all in or it's just kind of like, not at all too much. There's kind of a, either you're really big in the Bond or maybe it's just one of those things. But I'd be down for watching all sorts of them and so on like that because I like them all.
Yeah, no, I've never seen, there isn't any of them that I watched I didn't like. I just haven't watched many of them. But yeah, no, the Commando, it's got awesome action. A story that could be worse.
It's all you really need, though. That's how I look at it. It's just that thing where it just starts off and it shows, Arnold and he's up at this really cool, cabin. And I actually looked that up. I asked Perplexity, and I was like, "Hey, where's that first shot shot at Commando, where he's at the log cabin?" And it literally gave me the actual address to some guy's house, and it's like, "Hey, you can't go and visit it though; it's a private residence." But like, whatever, I got it on GPS. So I'm there looking at it, like the satellite views and everything like that, and it still looks like it's pretty darn remote. It's not like one of those ones where he's got like 15 neighbors moved up around it. Like, no, that place is there. But I kid you not, I like that. That's the start of this movie. Awesome. I love it. Well, actually, realistically, that's not the start of the movie. No, that's a little bit. There's a moment beforehand. But since we're talking about the house, we can talk about the house because I've always looked at that house as one of the coolest locations, like to live at. And it's just in the California mountains, and it feels kind of like where we're at, though I knew it was always somewhere in the Southern California mountains. But, it's probably give or take 3,000, 4,000 elevation or so just by kind of looking at the trees there and everything. And yeah, it's just this cool house, and like Arnold's out there, and yeah, he's living there with his daughter and stuff, and he's pretty much retired from the military, and just everything about that, I always thought, man, that's fucking badass. I know it's probably not realistically. I guess people would probably look at my house and go, that's kind of the same thing you got there, just a little bit different, but
yeah, no, it is awesome, and I love that. I love that opening too. Well, it's not the opening; it's the opening of Arnold's part of the film. Yeah. But, prior to that, it opens with just these guys getting assassinated, and you don't really know who they are. they're just random people just getting murdered. Like the trash can scene with I thought that was, you know, the dude gets mercilessly murdered, but I mean, like I just found it kind of.
And he's so desperate to be. He's like, "Oh no, it's trash day. Is it trash? Are they here?" He like wakes up, his wife's sitting next to him, and so on like that. Like they're early. Well, maybe they switch schedules. Like I'll go get it. And he's like dragging out, like, "Don't you guys go?" And of course, you got good old Bill Duke, who I think is always one of the coolest actors in movies. You know, he's there as the trash guy.
He's kind of the same character.
Yeah,
but I like him for that because I can't think of a lot of other actors that fill that Bill Duke role, and just so deadpan, you know, like he's not a villain in Predator, but he still is kind of the same character, and
he's the serious guy.
yeah. And one thing I like though, I think you see this in many Arnold films, and maybe it's to make Arnold just that much more larger than life, is a lot of people are like not nearly in as good a shape as Arnold. And yeah, he's the title star. So, I mean, there's that. But like him and Bennet, you know, the arch nemesis in this film, like he's just a big fat guy. And I'm sure he's really
Vernon Wells.
But it's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, because, you know, it's funny, he's the dude in Mad Max 2, Road Warrior. He's like the guy with the big mohawk and everything like that, that villain. The guy who has like the gay lover who's like the blonde guy on his bike that he gets all sad when he dies.
It's so funny. And,
you know, it's funny enough, I've actually, Vernon Wells followed me on Twitter because like I was talking to him once after an interview he did on this other friend I got's podcast, the Arnold Radio News, or when they did it back in the day, and they had Vernon Wells on there. And then I like was talking to Vernon Wells afterwards, and I was like, "Oh, sweet, Vernon Wells followed me. That's badass."
That's pretty cool. Yeah,
it's those little things in life.
Different semi-famous people, but it's always like, oh wow, look at that. But yeah, no.
Well, sometimes I feel like when those guys first got like online, they're like, I think this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think they just are like, oh, I guess I followed this guy. He was talking back to me. Would it be rude if I didn't?
Yeah. I actually, you know, it's funny you say that. I've talked to a few different musicians that aren't even like big time musicians. Big for them, right? Like they're touring and this and that, but like they got like maybe 5,000 followers or 20,000 followers. They're just not super big time musicians. And I've chatted with them. Hey, man, I think your music's great. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I wish you luck. I mean, you got, you know, I think you're really up and coming, this and that. Hey, thanks. I'm like, yeah, if you ever check out my work, you know, that'd be cool to hear some feedback from you. Oh, cool. Yeah. And then like silence, not a follow back. And like, I'm talking about like full on conversations and then just like crickets. You know, I'm like,
yep.
You know what? Maybe I should tell you that you actually suck. You know, but
I hate to sort of say it, like, I give a pass to like a real celebrity, like and stuff, but like sometimes there's a lot of artists, like I'm gonna put them in like the indie artist category that like they literally only care about themselves, because I've seen that a lot with comic books and, you know, video and all that kind of stuff throughout the years. Is that there's a lot of people that like, yeah, they want you to buy all their stuff and so on like that, but the second it goes the other way around, it's like, nope, they are not there for anyone else. I
went to the Celtic Fair in Calaveras County in 2021 and bought a book from this girl. It was like a smut book, you know, like one of the fantasy whatever. And I was just like, oh, cool. Like she was virtually like no following, you know, and but really proud of her book. It looked nice and everything. I didn't read it. I bought a copy of it because like I stood there talking to her for like 10 minutes and I'm like,
you felt obligated.
Yes, I did. I'm like, I mean, it's kind of like going to Costco and trying the samples of stuff and then being like, well, see ya. You know, I'm not going to buy this, but thanks for the free stuff. You know, So I'm talking to her and I'm like, all right, like, how much is your book? And oh, $10. You know, I'm like, okay. And I had one of my little cards for my Instagram with my writing and all that. And I didn't have a book yet at that time, but I still had a lot of material. So I gave her my card and she's like, oh, great. You know, like, I asked her first, I'm like, do you have Instagram? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, cool. And I found her and I followed her and I'm like, looked in my pocket and my wallet. I had my card. So I'm like, here, like, I'd love to, you know how you felt about mine. She's like, oh yeah, definitely. And then I gave it to her. She never followed me. I messaged her. I'm like, hey, I remember, it was nice meeting you. Kind of like you should follow me. But I messaged him like, nice meeting you. I'm looking forward to reading your book, and left on read. I'm like, so then I just donated the book.
Yeah, so sometimes it's just like one of those ones. Yeah, as I said, I've seen it a lot. So sometimes it's one of those ones. It's amazing how many people don't want to help out the community that they're in too. I've seen that where
it works. Like,
yeah, that's yeah, but yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, what's his name? Bennet, played by Vern, right?
Yeah, Vernon Wells.
Yeah,
Australian.
Vernon Wells. What I always love is you got these two dudes that were in the special forces in the U.S. Army. That one's Australian, one's Austrian.
All American.
Yeah.
Well, and Vernon Wells in this movie, he almost looks like a scary Freddie Mercury. That's like the best way you could describe his character.
I saw somebody comment that on that video.
He's got the mustache and everything like that. He's got like the netted shirt and the chains.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the other thing too was I was laughing with my wife about it because she hadn't seen Commando, and I'm like, she goes, "What is he wearing? Like, is that some kind of armor?" I'm like, "It just looks like a really long shoelace that's tied up on his chest." Like, I'm like, "That is no kind of armor. That's just some funny outfit. I have no idea." Like, just an awesome. Whoever did the costume in this movie was on their game. Like, that was fantastic. Yeah, interesting cast for sure. But they all did their jobs really well. Not just Arnold, not just Bill Duke, the little short guy that plays Sonny. I forgot his
Sully.
Sully, yeah, not Sonny. I can't remember his name in real life, but everyone had an element that they filled in this film. There was no like extras or like other like characters that were kind of a duplicate of another character. It was all cast really well. One of the things I thought was interesting was apparently the original script called for Arnold to be an Israeli,
Israeli
soldier
who gave up violence or so on like that, and he's gonna kind of like redeem himself or something.
And that's not what happened.
So Commando is written by Jeff Loeb, who's this writer for, I always think of him as the DC Comics, Batman, The Long Halloween, probably the best Batman story of all time. He did a bunch of other ones there too. He also did Marvel works as well too, with Captain America White, Spider-Man Blue. There was all this color series that he did with Tim Sale as the artist. Super good. Like probably some of the best comic books out there. And one of the first things he ever did is he wrote Commando, and he wrote that Israeli script. And initially, it was supposed to be a vehicle made for Gene Simmons of Kiss, the star in. So just all I can picture Gene Simmons now in Commando.
It's hard.
It's hard, but at the same time, if Gene Simmons was in an action movie like that, that would have been pretty interesting.
I can't picture Gene Simmons in anything other than Kiss and that radio show that he does or did, one of the two. Man, that's wild.
Yeah. There's a handful of movies he's in the 80s, because that was like the time period where he was trying to, do the acting thing like on the side. And
sure, of course.
But most of the time he was just more like businessman, or something like that, or, kind of sometimes like a bad guy. Like there's one like Michael Crichton movie called Runaway that I want to say he's in that one there. And he's the businessman guy in it. He's playing the Gene Simmons part. But that's just an interesting thing to think. That's like, oh, okay. But the script kind of got formatted towards Arnold, and that was probably worked out for the best, because we got Commando, and Commando is amazing, So I think that is kind of the right way to go. You got Stephen De Souza, who writes a lot of scripts in the 80s of all kinds of cool action movies. He's the one who came in and did the second draft of it or whatever.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing that on that video you sent me too, and I like the part where he said like that he went to him and said, "Hey, I got a script here." He talking about Commando, and he's like, "Well, let me read it." He's like, "No, I'm not going to let you read it. If you read it, you're not going to want to make the film."
Yeah, and that's funny because it's like he gave it because the director of this movie is Mark Lester, who the other movie I think of him as is there's a movie called Showdown in Little Tokyo that stars Dolph Lundgren and Brandon Lee. And I remember it's one of those movies like I enjoy it, but it's a very kind of cheesy bad movie, but like in a good way. where somebody once explained to me, he's like, Brandon Lee's acting in this movie is almost like so bad that it makes Dolph Lundgren look like he should have won an Academy Award. And it's so weird because Brandon Lee is off so much in that one. Like, I don't know. It's like maybe
it's so weird that directors are just like, maybe they got sick of saying cut. I don't know. Like,
yeah. Well, I looked at Mark Lester's other movies.
Off on this is usually what I think. Like,
yeah. Well, other than like Commando, and I guess some people might say Commando is kind of in that kind of high B movie kind of category, but the rest of his stuff is all kind of like grindhousey B movie, you know, that kind of stuff, you know, almost like probably later day straight to video type things. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but that's kind of what his like forte was. But Commando seems like it's the high bar of all that stuff.
It has to, like I was saying earlier, I started saying, like, you know, it's got the appropriate, what I feel is an appropriate amount of one-liners and jokes. It's got the great, you know, for an action film, you can't go wrong with military or ex-military. You know, that's just a recipe for the good kind of disaster. And the amount of explosions in this film wasn't quite Rambo 3. But it was it was fantastic, and I love it too when they're super exaggerated. Like in this film, there wasn't explosions left and right in the film; they were appropriate. You know, when John Matrix goes to the island to go rescue his daughter and whatnot, he's all geared up because he's preparing for war. And what's hilarious to me, and you'll find videos on YouTube that are like this, where they have like actual veterans that react to explosions in action films. Excuse me. And they're half the time they're laughing. They're like, yeah, no, that's not going to do that. You know, like they're like, this is a cool scene, but that's totally ridiculous. And it is ridiculous in Commando. Like there's a point where he's putting claymores, you know, he's lining up claymores all over the place. Claymores are not a toy, and they're not dangerous. They're not an explosive, but it was like he packed like 10 pounds of C4 in these buildings. You know, like the level of destruction that was caused by him for only using claymores is hilarious. So I love that, because
maybe there's a lot of fuel hooked up to the side of these buildings, and he's put them on propane tanks or something like that. You know, I always try to do when I watch a movie is I try to always suspend my belief enough that I can go like, okay, let's try to figure out how this works. You know what I mean? Like that's how I like to look at it.
Cool diesel in there. Yeah.
You know, and I love that scene too anyways, because like it's cool, like models blowing up, and when you watch the movie, like they have like a couple just like stick figure kind of guys just standing out there, and they're just literally on like a post, and you know, it just blows up.
I didn't notice that.
Oh, I've watched this so many times that I'm like, yeah, next time you look at it, one of those blows up, you see the models, and you can see just the soldiers that are out there. It's just like a little action figure plugged in.
It's like Team America, you know.
that's literally kind of what it looks like. I say sometimes you don't notice it, like, you know, but yeah. And then when I watched actually Commando this time, I actually watched it on my MetaQuest, so I watched it in movie theater mode, which is pretty badass because I've never seen it that big before.
Pretty cool. I'm curious to know. I'm doubting that I can do that with the PSVR 2, but
I'm pretty sure you can. I think you could go in there and, you know, throw on Netflix or Prime or any of that stuff and watch movies that way.
Man, my wife might never see me again.
Yeah, I kid you not. It is pretty sweet though. You kick back and everything like that, and like in MetaQuest, there's like one of the ones. It's got like digital theaters that you can like hang out in or whatever. Like literally everything from like digital theaters to like digital rooms. So like you're in the theater, all the chairs are there. If you had friends that had the system, you could invite them in there, and you could actually look at each other. Wow. Digitally while you're watching the movie, and I think even talk if you know you so desire.
That's awesome.
So there's some stuff in there that's pretty darn neat, and for the most part, it looks pretty good. I mean, it does kind of have like, it feels like almost like if you took a Blu-ray and you blew it up to, you know, 150 inches or whatever like that. So like, you know, you get a little bit of that, but at the same time, the trade-off's not bad. And yeah, you're just sitting there and then you can also do the thing too, if you feel like it, you can lay down and watch a movie. Imagine being in a movie theater where you can lay down flat but still watch the movie.
Wow.
That you can do a VR.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna have to screw around with that. See what I can do. But yeah,
You know, that was actually literally the main reason I got the VR initially, because I wanted to watch movies in it. I thought the games would be like a bonus, but the being able to watch movies in there, I thought was the coolest thing.
You didn't just take a little cardboard box and put a hole in it and tape your phone to it.
Yeah, just tape your face. I don't know how that was really supposed to work properly, because I
did that when I was deployed.
Did it work?
I had a little box. I mean, it's just like holding your phone in front of your face. I mean, I took some kind of little box that I don't remember what it was, like maybe a soda box or something. And I cut a little hole in it. I taped my phone. Like, I did it once and I didn't do it again because it's kind of a pain in the butt. You know, like I taped my phone to it. I pressed play and I held it held it over my face, you know, and I'm like, well, this is neat, I guess, but this is also kind of stupid. You know, and then I just started watching on my laptop again.
Yeah, like, here we go. Yeah. Sometimes that's even the thing about the Quest, even though as cool as it is have that thing. You got to wear, you got to wear that unit on you. So you do kind of have that where it's, it's comfortable enough, but it's also at the same time not as comfortable as just watching it on the TV. I
can't wear that PSVR 2 for too long. I start getting a headache. And nauseous.
Yeah. It took me a long time to get used to, literally get used to the VR thing. It was like one of those ones,
gosh.
But
anyway,
movies in that school. But as I said, like you see a lot of details. I saw a lot of extra because I was looking around the background and all kinds of stuff when I was watching that, just to see all that extra stuff that you normally don't see on a TV screen.
But yeah, so going back to Commando, yeah, so going back to the premise, Arnold plays a guy named John Matrix, retired.
Badass name.
Retired like super special.
He's gone beyond retired. He's super retired.
Exactly. Retired special forces. Apparently all of his buddies that he served with are getting killed, and his former commanding officer just flies to his house in a military chopper, leaves these two guys with him, and he says they're real good, but they're not as good as him. And
General Kirby
mowed away, as soon as he leaves, which is kind of hilarious. You'd think he'd turn around and come back, because as soon as the helicopter takes off, all of a sudden the villains are shooting up his house. But
and I like because Arnold just grabs his daughter and books it out of there. Those guys get taken out, and the one dude crawls into the house of Arnold, and Arnold pretty much tells him he's like, I smelled him coming downwind, and the guy looks at him and you smelled the guy? He's like, I did.
Yeah, exactly. It's just hilarious. He's what I told my wife was that this movie is almost like, well, not just the movie, but the character of John Matrix is almost like if John Rambo didn't have terrible PTSD and just a really shitty life, he could be like, it's like if everything went really well, for John
it's really
Rambo,
what it is.
That's who John Matrix is. And it's just it's kind of hilarious. And there's nothing that he does that gets screwed up. There's nothing, not that Rambo ever gets super screwed up. He just falls into traps and stuff. But even when Arnold might fall into a crappy situation, or John Matrix, it's just who cares? No big deal.
He gets out of it.
Master Chief without armor.
Just kind of hides in the corner for a second and his shields recharge.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, his kidnap is, these dudes show up to his house after his former commanding officer shows up and says, hey, all your buddies are dying, so I'm going to leave these two guys with you. All right, see ya. It's kind of well, hold on a minute. Why wouldn't you just take me with you and,
yeah, take me and my daughter.
Yeah, or at least take my daughter, and but yeah, so the daughter gets kidnapped by none other than one of the guys that was supposed to be killed, and Bennet, and who's Vernon Wells.
Vernon Wells, yeah.
Yeah. And Arnold, John Matrix is super surprised. I thought you were killed. And he's like, yeah, well, after you kicked me out of the unit and whatever, because he's a psychopath. And it's this, the island that he's on. I can't. I'm not even going to try to open up the web browser. At the risk of destroying the video again.
I think it's
some South American island or something.
Val Verde, I want to say is what the thing.
Yeah, Val Verde.
It's like it's a fictional place that's used in a lot of like Stephen De Souza movies.
Years prior, John Matrix had led an operation. Kept this guy out of power, got somebody else to be the president, and this dude comes back and he's really upset about it, and so he kidnaps Arnold's John Matrix's daughter, and he tells him, you're gonna get rid of that president for me and get me back into power, or I'll kill your daughter, and you have until tomorrow. And the whole thing is, and I didn't realize this the last time I watched this movie either, but it's another great tactic that I think directors do, is where the movie takes place in just a day, and
it's got a ticking time bomb in it, so that there's always like that countdown. That like the time's coming down, and Arnold's got it programmed on his watch so he can look at it and see what it is.
And when I saw him do that again this last time around watching the film, I was like, okay. I'm like, this is another reason why this movie's so good. You don't have to figure out like time in between events. There's no jumps. No long explanations for about anything. It's just from point A to Z very quickly. Like he just knocks out all of his tasks, and the first thing is to get off the plane that the enemies think he's on, by murdering one of the henchmen right in the seat of the plane. I love that one. Please don't wake my friend. He's dead tired.
After he's just cracked him in the face with an elbow, snapped his neck.
And and then jumping out of that plane, I was curious. I was curious to know if that was a legitimate stunt.
I want to say it's a dummy, because I listened to a little bit ago. I listened to the audio commentary that Mark Lester had, and he talked about that scene. And he's like, that scene, like people would always cheer on that because it looks really good. We really kind of got it right. But I think it's like literally like that last part's literally a dummy that's thrown out.
And it makes sense. I mean, he's
Arnold
way
falls
high
in
up in the air. Like, there's no way he wouldn't like break his legs or something, or his back, or die. And
if it was a Chinese movie, it'd probably be a real guy. But
Jackie Chan.
It'd be actually Jackie Chan doing it.
They'd have the plane take off and he'd run down it, and then. But yeah, what's funny too is there are a few scenes where some of the stunts that Arnold Schwarzenegger's character does, you can totally see the difference between Arnold and his stunt double. It's kind of hilarious.
Speaking of which, when I was watching on the MetaQuest, there's the part where this gets a little bit farther in the movie, but where he swings across through the Sherman Mall, on that part, because on the audio commentary, Mark Lester talked about, they're like, we got this guy who was like 5'6" from the circus to come by and do this, and we're like, what? How are you going to double as Arnold? He's like, don't worry about it. As long as I'm moving, no one's going to really notice, And realistically, I never noticed my entire life. I mean, I knew that wasn't Arnold, because it was like, we're not going to have Arnold swing across there. But like, I never kind of noticed it as. But when I watched it on the big screen on the Quest, I literally could see right at the last second when he lands on top of the elevator, you can kind of see, it's a guy in just an Arnold costume, and he looks a little bit different. He had different hairline just by a fraction.
It's the same thing when he gets run over by Sully's car. The same.
Oh yeah.
Same dude, and it's just hilarious because once again, just like any other stunt double, you're not really paying too much attention because you're enveloped in the story and whatnot in the scene. But I just caught it somehow. I'm like, oh wait, I'm like, and I pause. I'm like, that is 100% not Arnold, and it was so hilarious to me. But yeah, so I love Rae Dawn Chong's character too. I thought she did such a fantastic job, and I don't really know what she went on to do in her career. I don't know if maybe she just didn't go very far, or just did a lot of roles that were minor. But I really enjoyed her character in this film, and I usually am annoyed by that type of sidekick in these films. I'm usually just like, just get out of here. Like you're lame. You're slowing the main character down. But I thought she did a really good job, because I think that, I don't know if this kind of thing was happening in real life. He he follows Sully, who's following this pilot, this young amateur pilot is what she is.
Yeah, and I think she's like a stewardess. Realistically, that's her job, but she wants to become a pilot.
She knows how to fly. I don't know if it's.
I think she's getting into piloting. So she's got the steward job, and then she's getting into being a pilot. You know, and she's been taking lessons and so on like that. I also got to say this real quick. Rae Dawn Chong. I've watched this movie so many times. I've always liked her and everything like that. I was looking at it like earlier. She's Tommy Chong's daughter.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
I didn't know that for the longest time. I don't know why I never put two and two together. I thought that was like one of those ones. I was like, what? Really? Oh, that's badass. You know, because that's why I always think of her in this movie, and I think she's actually one of the best kind of like sidekick female characters because she's not kind of like obnoxious, sort of like I'll say like Steven Spielberg's wife in Indiana Jones 2. What's her name? Oh, whatever. But you know, in Temple of Doom, because where that girl's just always complaining the whole time. The whole time she's kind of just complaining there. No, I'm wrong. That's my favorite Indiana Jones movie, but she's like nagging Indy the whole way through. Yeah. You know, no matter what.
It's like I like how. Do something.
Yeah, where like Cindy here in this one, she like takes charge and like she actually helps Arnold out. Even at first, I mean, at first she literally feels like she's being kidnapped, and there's this pervert guy Sully who's just trying to pick her up at the airport, like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, you know, pretty much just like, you want to go to my place and bang? You know, I'm 5'2".
And the persistence is hilarious. Like just like she clearly wants nothing to do with him, and he just like keeps following her, which of course to a young woman is probably a very terrifying thing.
Especially when you're in a parking lot and so on. And she's even like, she's like, you know what? I just, could you just please get out of here? Whatever you're trying to sell me sounds like a nightmare. And then she's like, fucking whore.
That was a California Brad Pitt scene right there.
Stanky bitch. I brought that movie down on DVD, so we got to do that one soon.
Oh, yes. Yes.
We're going to keep bringing it up.
It's one of the best Pitt movies I've ever seen. But yeah, so Arnold, what's funny is another great scene in an Arnold film, which it kind of has this happen a few times in this movie where, again, they make him the larger than life thing. Like he does things so nonchalantly that any other person, you'd be like, oh my God, you know, like, but it's, you know, he wants to follow Sully. So right after he walks away from Cindy, you know, she's like, oh God. And then he surprises her, you know, like, I'm not going to hurt you. And
which, let's be honest, what's scarier, seeing like Arnold Schwarzenegger pop up from the side or that little guy, the creepy little pervert guy, or this giant guy appears on the side?
No. And he rips out that seat out of the car and gets in there, and like it's no big deal, and he still looks like a full-size person sitting in a seat in this tiny little car, which is hilarious.
Well, it's funny because it cuts back. I've always noticed this from watching it, because there's some scenes where like Arnold sits down, like, and you can see he's sitting without a seat there, so he's like the same height as her. But then there's other scenes where it's like a little bit of a distant shot, and you can tell that there's clearly a seat in there now, probably for legal reasons when they go out into the road. I bet you that's kind of what it was. Even though they're shooting a movie, they probably like, okay, well, we can't just have him sitting on the the floorboard or whatever. I don't know.
Probably, and it wouldn't surprise me if Arnold Schwarzenegger was against it or something either. Like watching him in that interview, he's like talking about how Vernon Wells was so terrifying, and it's like, oh no, coming at with a knife, and it's pretty hilarious because you think like this big, like super built, tough dude, Meanwhile, he's just seems like a super nice guy, and not really wanting to hurt anyone, and or fight anyone, but. Yeah, no, that's pretty funny. But so yeah, they pretty much for I won't say the first half of the movie, they or the first half of their time together, they basically go on a kind of a scavenger hunt kind of thing. They're trying to find clues on how to get to his daughter, save her, and take out the villains, and they finally catch up with Sully, and it's after they go to the mall.
Yeah, they go to the mall, which I will say, that mall's one of those ones, like that mall's like in so many movies. That's in like Terminator 2. That's one's in like Fast Times at Ridgemount High. There's so many movies that one's in, and it's kind of a bummer because I think that mall got like renovated after the earthquake in like 92 or whatever. whatever it was in the early 90s. And so it's kind of not really the same, because I've always wanted to go down there just to kind of see, even if it was just kind of like a husk of its former self. It would still be interesting to see just for how many movies that thing's in.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that was definitely the time when malls were the thing. Now anymore, you just see them, they're all closed up and whatever.
They're all sad and just like, they're like a Bruce Springsteen song playing over the top of it,
But yeah, so they go to this mall. He tries to convince her to help him out, and she's like, yeah, sure, and then pretends to help him, goes into this place that Sully's in, but tells a police officer that he's nuts, and so then he calls this other guy for backup so they can go confront him, and it backfires, it's such a wild scene. I don't know about you, but anytime I've ever been in the mall, I don't know, I've maybe seen one or two cops, maybe one or two security guards. It seems like the entire police department of Los Angeles was in this shopping mall, because they're taken out, like, as they're trying to confront Arnold and then, subdue him, detain him, arrest him, whatever. He's just taken out, like, officer after officer. There's like 30 cops that he like blows through.
I kid you not. I gotta tell you this story real quick. When I was a kid, me and one of my friends, we went to the mall, and he had in Modesto area, George Lucas Town, and he literally built this thing on his hat, because he was one of those kind of guys that just kind of built shit out of stuff and put it together. So he put 2 computer fans attached to like his hat and a battery and everything. And we were going up on the escalator, and all of a sudden, security guards at the top, security guards at the bottom, like, confronted us and whatnot. And pretty much he had to sit there and explain, like, oh, this is just literally a fan. It's not a bomb or anything like that. And they looked at it like, oh, I guess that's kind of cool and everything like that. And I remember we made a joke a little bit later, but like, as the guy's flipping around, be like, just don't push that switch. But so we did get kind of run down at the mall one time. Like they brought the mall, all the woodworks there to.
That's hilarious.
Show. But Arnold here's got like legitimate like mall cops coming at you and so on like that, and there's like 15 of them coming at him. And
crazy.
Sully's in there making like some kind of deal with this dude and whatnot, which this scene's always really weird, because he's like, he makes this deal, he does a trade off, they exchange money, he exchanges like passports or whatever.
He gets passports, yeah. Or something like that. Yeah.
And okay, so the cops start attacking Arnold, and then Sully notices, oh shit, there's Arnold there, like there's Matrix. So he starts running to the phone booth and whatnot. Okay, so we're back now, and as you can see, our outfits are different because it's a brand new day. And on our previous one, we were just having too much internet technical difficulties. Dave was experimenting with radically different internet, and like so many things in life, it's best not to try the radical companies. Yeah. The experimental ones that always want to offer you a different, price and so on like that. So we're like, you know what? We're just going to cut it right here and jump back in. So here we are now, 2 days later. Sadly, in this 2-day period between Commando Part 1 and now going to Commando Part 2, good old Chuck Norris passed away, and boy, such a bummer. Because I know he's like the oldest of the action stars, other than like Clint Eastwood. But I just felt like Chuck was going to be the guy that was going to go like the distance, like he was going to be like Dick Van Dyke and be like 100 years old or whatever.
I think I'm going to have to do an honorary watch of Special Forces.
There you go, that one. Some Lone Wolf McQuaid, you got Missing in Action.
I'm sorry, Delta Force. Holy crap,
yeah, Delta Force. Yeah. There's just so many of them. Or just even watch Return of the Dragon with Bruce Lee. Watch the Chuck Norris fight at the end. Always a good one.
I love that. I love that movie, dude. And the you've probably seen, maybe not, but somebody edited that scene where they're getting ready to fight near the end, and they put "Careless Whisper" by George Michael or Wham.
Yeah.
And in that scene, and it just completely changes the the mood. They're just undressing, and what's his name? Chuck Norris is like shaking his hair out, and it's like he's disrobing to make love to Bruce Lee. It's hilarious.
Oh, that's awesome. That's like literally Bennet in Commando, who's about 2 steps away from making love to Arnold Schwarzenegger because he's not too sure if he wants to kill him or he wants to just become his lover.
Oh my God, yeah, yeah, Vernon Wells.
Yeah, good old Vernon and so on. And well, yeah, as I said, R.I.P. Chuck Norris, all that stuff. We will celebrate you in good old action glory as always, because no matter what, the movies will always be there for historical value. But jumping in back to Commando, I think where we left off at, we were talking in the mall, and I think I want to say literally like the last thing I remember talking about was I was thinking Sully's got this transaction going down for the passports inside that cafe thing there.
Yeah.
With the South American dude. And of course, Arnold's outside in the mall, you know, peeking around, kind of looking like he's creeping. And then he sends Cindy over there, which she's not too sure of Arnold or anybody at this point. Her day's been terrible so far. You know, she's already been, you know, you had this short perverted guy try to pick up on her. She had this big Austrian guy rip out her seat in the car and forcefully drive her to the mall. You know, so here she is now being sent on an errand to go back to the you know, Sully, the perverted dude, and you know, try to like question him and distract him so Arnold can get in there. But of course, she talks to the cops, and when he talks to the cops all come and they start harassing Arnold. But this is the part I could never really understand. So the South American dude who was selling the passports to Sully, why does he just decide to run out of that restaurant, guns a-blazing, you know, shoots, you know, and then gets blasted a couple of times by the cops? Like, he could have just slowly walked out. Nobody was looking for him. The only thing I can think is that maybe he assumed that they were coming for him and there was no way he was going back to jail kind of thing.
Yeah, and here's another thing. I mean, like, I think they probably would have killed Sully if he killed John Matrix, because they didn't want to kill him. They wanted him to get to Val Verde to either coerce the president to step down or kill him or whatever their deal was. You know, like, so, I mean, that would have been I think he would have been in a hot mess if he would have actually killed him.
Yeah. Yeah, because I felt like nobody would have won there or something like that. But I always just wondered why that one dude with the passports just decided he needed to come out guns a-blazing, and it doesn't work out for him, you know. As I said, maybe he just got scared, you know, and panicked.
Yeah, that was a weird. That was a weird scene. I didn't really think about that, but
I was always thinking because I'm like, that guy could just literally that guy could just sit in his chair. He doesn't even have to get up and just wait this thing out, and it'll probably be all fine and dandy.
But yeah, but you know, I guess if that didn't happen, well, we wouldn't have that big scene.
Well, I think it's just just like we need somebody to die here. I think that's pretty much what it is at the end of the day. Let's have somebody get shot. Well, who can get shot? Well, none of these other characters can, but we can shoot this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like a movie thing. Like we just need somebody to get shot and have a cool action scene where he you know, goes over the edge or whatnot.
Yeah, that just puts everything in turmoil where Arnold has to beat up about 45 cops and then run out of there. What I like about the scene too is I guess all the fight scenes he's in, but this one especially. In a lot of the action movies, a lot of the main characters, I don't know. It could just be me, but a lot of these dudes that are just like brute strength, just whatever. I never expected to see them like perform like decent martial arts moves and stuff. And he really seems like he knows what he's doing, John Matrix. But then again, he's a like special forces hero, and I like because you and I both watched the extended version, which I didn't even know existed.
Yeah. So it's only like about like a little bit over a minute longer, you know, but and I think really what that extended edition adds in there more than anything is there's 2 extra scenes that like when Arnold and Cindy or Arnold and Rae Dawn Chong are like in the car. I want to say that like those ones are a little bit extended, those talking scenes in there. And then of course at the very end there's a couple extra more violent scenes, you know, that we can get to when that time comes. But yeah. So that was what I was going to say. I don't know why they would cut that out, because I mean it didn't really add, you know, 20 minutes of film. And it gave a little bit more backstory. I mean, I guess a lot of viewers probably didn't care about where his wife or ex-wife or whatever it may be, or why it was just him and his daughter and nobody else, or who knows. I think a lot of viewers probably didn't care, and it probably, I would say it probably makes for an easier formula for the movie. You know, like
daughter's been kidnapped. Got to go rescue the daughter. There's no wife in the scene, so why worry? Nothing to worry about there. But I do like the context that they added there. Not only do they talk about, does John Matrix explain to Cindy like why it's just him and his daughter, but he also explains that he's been in like 9 different wars and conflicts, and it's first grade, and I'm in Bosnia. It's her 8th birthday party, and I'm in Mexico. Like just like whatever. It's it's just good context, and I'm like, why wouldn't they just leave that in the movie? But whatever, we got.
Well, there's one line in there that Cindy has that kind of makes me wonder, like in the 80s, if they're like, you know what, let's pull this one, because there's a part where like when Arnold's after she's explaining all that stuff, and then now he's a retired, from the military, and she just goes like. She's like, oh, so my taxes pay for your pension then? He's like, yeah. But you could just see like in the 80s, like, ooh, let's not have that line in there. That's almost like a little too derogatory towards the military.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually why they cut it. I got to say that is, I get it, man. Like there's a lot of stupid things that taxpayers pay for. And I will always believe that, but I gotta say it's one of the dumbest things I've ever. I continue to hear all the time is my tax dollars go to your salary. It's like, so do mine. Like like
everybody's does.
As a military, as a prior military, people don't think about the fact that the military member is also paying that same tax that goes to their own paycheck. Like it's not like the other people are the only ones doing it. I solely,
it's not like they just like, I'm going to sit on this couch and never like work another day in my life and collect that, tax pension.
Not only that, but it's like, it's like people act like their paycheck alone is what goes to, it's like, so many things that,
their eighth of a penny is the,
I know, right? But I heard that and I thought the same thing. I'm like, yeah, I kind of don't remember this in the theatrical cut, and I'm sure they cut it out for.
I could just see in the 80s that one being like, let's just, because most of this is like the time period. Generally, the war movies are always, or action movies are always like, rah rah, come on, America.
I think we were getting back. This was a time where we were getting back into pro military era after a while of anti. Because in the 60s, like your what do you
Vietnam
call it?
Era,
the Vietnam era, that was a big screw the military and this and that, and it wasn't very popular to support the military or be pro and whatever. It's kind of funny that Tom Cruise in Born on the 4th of July, that's a great example, and then years later when he does Top Gun,
which is actually before that, actually.
Oh, it was before it.
Yeah, so Top Gun comes first, because that was like the conflicting thing for like Tom Cruise going into like Born on the 4th of July. They're like, well, you just did the most like patriotic war movie, like, and then like, wait a second, do we want this guy? And Oliver Stone's like, no, it'd be perfect for him.
Wow, well, that gives me another perspective on that. But no, that it's hilarious that I don't know. Now what I was going to say doesn't make any sense, but no, it's whatever.
Yeah. Well, the whole point is like in the 80s, it's kind of like, the military is looked more fondly upon again. Vietnam's almost not looked upon as such a bad thing. And now it's like at that point where like, we got to go back to Vietnam and get those POWs out. Speaking of Chuck Norris with like Missing in Action and Rambo 2 and all that kind of stuff. So that's what this kind of area is. And that's where like a lot of like the action characters I always think of in most of these movies in the 80s, they're all Vietnam vets. And I always think that's kind of the cool part. I mean, you think of like Riggs and like Lethal Weapon. He was a sniper in Vietnam. Arnold's characters like this and Predator and all that kind of stuff. Of course,
Jesse Ventura.
Yeah, all those guys. Jesse Ventura being the actual Vietnam veteran.
Yeah.
So, you have all that there. But yeah, I always think about that line. It's like one of those ones I think most people that would just go over their heads, but I just kind of think in the context of 1985. Yeah. It's kind of like when you got like Iron Eagle, which came out slightly before Top Gun. Have you ever seen that one before?
No.
So when I was a kid, it was one of my favorite ones. It's pretty much just like the other Top Gun, but it's technically proto Top Gun in a sense. But it's all about like a bunch of kids that live on an Air Force base and whatnot, and then one of the dads gets shot down overseas or whatnot, and the military isn't going to do anything about it, So they're like, well, we're going to jump in the plane ourselves and go over there and rescue Pops and so on like that, And they get
that one.
Lou Gossett Jr.'s in it, and he's pretty much like the one adult that's like kind of conned into going along with him on this mission, you know. But no, the movie's great, but there's literally a part there's literally like one of the kids in there. There's literally a black kid who's like has the most patriotic like, oh, good old Ronnie Reagan. He like literally like says it like that. We gotta do it for him.
Wow.
I just knew that they're like, okay, out of all the kids we could have given this line to, we got to give it to the black kid.
That's funny.
You know, but yeah, where Commando's kind of more, you know, hey, we just got the ex-military guys, and he's just trying to save his daughter in action sense. But yeah, with Cindy's kind of explanation there, you know, that was part of the cut. Those was gonna make the movie NC-17.
Yeah, I will say though, like I kind of like how initially Cindy is, I don't want to say unlikable, because I thought her performance was so well done. But she first is just, you're like, oh man, like this. She comes off as slightly, I don't think immature is the right word. Just unaware, I guess.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't want to be here. She's literally thinks she's getting kind of partially kidnapped, realistically. Yeah, exactly.
You know, yeah. So she's very rightfully so to be untrusting and slightly unaware, but curious and whatnot. And of course, as the film progresses, she warms up to John Matrix and whatever. After she realizes that he's not full of crap. You know, she's like, oh, well then tell me, more and blah, blah, blah. To which, at first she's like, no, I'm not telling you more, but then he does. And it's kind of funny anyway, like where, he tells her exactly what's going on. And then in the car, she's like, aren't you going to tell me what's going on? He's like, no. It's like, well, he already did.
I think he's just kind of pissed now that you didn't believe him.
But yeah. And then, of course, basically from there, it's just a checklist of what's going on. It's I think I said it before, but a good formula, I think, for an action film. And I think you see this kind of stuff, pretty much in most action films like it that decades ahead, like you and I both saw in the recent past, Working Man with Jason Statham. And it's kind of the same thing. Obviously that movie takes place not in 11 hours. It takes place, matter of, I think, days or something. But I mean, it's the same idea. He knows what he's got to go do. He does each one. He's another character that's more or less larger than life, kind of invincible. And but yeah, I don't know. I love watching a good, like movie with, depth. I love dramas. I love suspense thrillers that make you really think. But I would say I have a lot more fun watching movies like Commando that are just simple to the point, and they got everything you need and nothing you don't.
Yeah, exactly. They're just good the whole way through. One I was thinking is for a more modern explanation. No, I guess it's not that modern by now, but like, is Metal Gear Solid's kind of an example of like a video game variation of this, where like you kind of have this, 12-hour window that you got to go through, and there's along the way you meet these colorful casts of characters and villains that you got to interact with in battle, because that's kind of what Commando has. Is each one of these guys is all interesting in their own right. They're not just like fodder kind of enemies where you just whatever, here's no name guy. No, each one of these bad guys is almost kind of like a boss character in a video game that Arnold's got to track down. It's just like Sully. Once Sully sees that Matrix is there and he goes to try to make that phone call in like the mall, and Arnold swings on over and runs up to him and whatnot and picks up that phone booth over his back and chucks him in it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I love that scene too. I love where the one cop that Cindy talks to, oh, there's this big giant guy out there. He's crazy. Please help me, whatever. So then he radios for backup. And he tells this guy, like, I got this big giant son of a bitch I need some help with. And this that black cop's like talking to these girls, trying to be suave and whatever. He's like, you want to see me kick this guy's ass? And I love how exaggerated his lines are too. You are one big motherfucker. Like, so funny.
I always think too, there's that cop that I think it's the one that Cindy first tells, but then she she goes to stop him later on, goes, no, don't shoot or whatever. She pushes that guy down. That's a great stunt right there. That guy that falls on the stairs there, holy crap.
Yeah, he's like he didn't die.
Yeah, those are those small things. Because I don't think most people think about like a stair fall, but just like imagine you got to go head first down on the stairs here, and you got to land just right, and they're falling on real stairs. That's how stuntmen do it.
The director was like, "No, let's do it again."
Yeah, keep doing it.
Like 6 times.
Well, that's what happened. There was one Jackie Chan fall that was like one like the longest ones ever that someone did like at that time period. It might have been in the Bruce Lee movie. Chinese Connection or something like that.
I'll tell you the
but like I remember, I think he had to do it 3 times. I think he said.
Oh, the one every time I think of us just stunts by Jackie Chan, the first one that comes to mind is the one I don't remember the movie, but he runs down the side of that giant building, like skyscraper. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I'm trying to think which one that is.
I don't know.
I picture the scene though, but yeah.
I don't know how a guy can do that. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap. But yeah, no. Shouts out to all the stunt guys out there, and then the guys that do their own stunts. I guess Tom Cruise does his own stunts. I think.
Yeah, Tom does his own stunts, and
Crazy
Carrie
bastard.
always double downs on saying that Tom does everything himself.
Oh, he is a Scientologist. He has nothing to live for.
Yeah, Scientology pays for all his stuff. I'm surprised people don't bitch about that. I always just think about that. Like that's what your Scientology money goes towards. It goes to making sure that Tom, stays fit and leads a good charge.
Yeah. But yeah, so like I was saying, it's it follows a good formula, and Arnold's got his checklist, and he's got to get it all done because he's got at this point less than 11 hours because he started his watch, I think, right before he went to the airport or whatever.
I think it's right when he jumps out of the airport. Or right when he jumps out of the plane and lands in the swamp. That's where he clicks the watch, and it starts at like 11:59 or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And but yeah, so him and Rae Dawn Chong, she starts warming up to him. They meet finally. Have a pursuit with Sully.
Yeah, and, little car chase and everything like that.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of I don't know if you remember from Disneyland that ride called Autopia. It used to be called Autopia.
Yeah, where you just get in the cars on the tracks.
That's kind of what that made me think of because those two cars are so small. Sully's in a Porsche, of course, but I mean, it just was kind of funny. And but yeah, the crashes his car, and I remember the first time I saw this movie, and I think I was like 11 or 12, and he's holding him up off the side of a cliff, and that's right after Sully kept telling him like, "Fuck you, get fucked. I'm not telling you nothing." And he's just holding him upside down, and
come on, Sully, this is my weak arm.
Yeah, it's so great. And I just remember him saying like, I was not expecting him to drop him off the cliff. I didn't see that many action films at this point. I saw bits and pieces of some. Like I think I'd seen Lethal Weapon 4 before I'd seen this film. Pieces of Die Hard. Like I was a victim of watching these movies on TNT, FX.
Nope, that was me growing up. So cause I didn't know for many years that those movies were edited on there. It was like I had like an argument with like one of my friends at like school in elementary. I was like, no way, this is not art. That's not how the movie went and whatnot. And then he showed me a real VHS of like, I think it was Blues Brothers. And I was like, there's all this extra swearing and stuff in there. Like, what the hell have I been watching this whole time? And I remember I felt betrayed when I learned that TBS and TNT and all those channels edited movies. Like, I used to think of them as the coolest channels ever because they had all the movies I wanted to watch. They had all these badass 70s and 80s action movies. And I was like, hell yeah. And then when I learned they were all edited, I was like, what is life anymore? Who can I really trust? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything is a lie.
Yeah. Oh man. But yes, I was just like, I couldn't believe it when he dropped him off the cliff, because at that point it seemed like a fun kind of jokey movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger is just a badass, and, drops him off the cliff. I'm like, what? He actually killed him, and oh man. So when I was a kid, I loved it. But yeah, that's such a great scene. You were going to kill me. You said you're going to kill me last. And I lied. He drops him. And then, of course, what's coming next. Sully's car is sitting on its side. And she's like, what about my car? We don't have a car. And he's just like,
pushes it over.
And then they get in and drive away. I'm thinking like, I don't know what the likelihood of that is, but something's got to be bent in there.
Yeah, it was a little bit roughed up, but
it doesn't matter anyway. They oh, here's another thing that I kind of forgot completely about, but the scene early in the movie with Bill Duke, where he steals the car out of the showroom floor, and steals this big giant Cadillac.
Like the guy's there saying, he's like, yeah, come on in. Yeah, get in the car. It makes you feel right. Like, I know what you're going to say. The seats are vinyl, but that's what you want. You don't want leather. Leather cracks, leather fades. Vinyl stays nice forever.
I like how he just like coldly says to him, like, I like Cadillacs. He's like, well, here's the Cadillac for you. And just gets in the car. He's like, you know what I like best about it? And the salesman's like, what? And he's like, the price. And like, whatever, and just drives out for free. And I thought about that, and I'm like, did you not call the cops? Like,
yeah, the dude literally gets ran over in his own shop.
And yeah, and I don't know, it's just kind of crazy. Like, that's just, I guess that's just what you could do. And what is it, 1985 that this film came out? You know, you just go into a store and just steal the car and drive away, and nobody does anything about it. But
is that the same Cadillac that Bill Duke's got?
When he's at the motel, when he shows up to the motel.
That's right. Yeah, he still got that same. I knew it was a Cadillac. I was trying to think if that was the same one, but yeah, I guess that is. Because they figured that out because in Sully's glove box they got the key to the hotel, and that's what leads him there.
And then of course, John Matrix and Cindy leave with that said stolen car. I didn't think about it either. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, they just keep taking different cars, But you get a badass fight scene in that motel.
Oh yeah, another great scene. Bill Duke, I'm a Green Beret, and this Green Beret is gonna beat your big ass. Yeah. And Arnold, of course, I eat Green Berets for breakfast.
And right now I'm very hungry.
And that scene where it too, like, quite a few things happen in that scene that's pretty hilarious. Cindy's like, "Oh, stop! You guys are so macho."
You guys eat too much red meat.
Beat each other up, slam through the next hotel room. Busting on a couple having sex in there.
I think it's funny because I remember, like, when I was looking at the Wikipedia thing, it says that lady's name that's in there who just jumps up and flashes her titties for a second, and she's like, now she's like a couples counselor. I just thought it was funny because it said it in there. It said like hooker and like when they get that real nice title that you could like show your parents what movie you're in. Who are you? Well, I'm the hooker in the motel room.
That's so hilarious, and I love it too. I mean, in total 80s fashion, just think like, just what does it add to the movie? Nothing. But
you just have to have it. You just have to have it. That's the thing. Sometimes people don't get it. Like, if you didn't have that in there, somebody would be very disappointed.
It can't just be somebody like that's staying there like normal and they just wake up like, oh my God, It's got to be a hooker fucking a dude.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, no, that's great. And then but yeah, so they continue fighting. Arnold throws him back in the other room and then kills him. Of course, he lands on a like a piece of the bed frame or post.
Yeah,
or whatever.
I think it's when you walk in, there's kind of almost like a grate that, like, for some reason silhouettes like the entrance door, and then they're broken off, so he gets like literally impaled on like rebarb looking stuff.
And then you got to wonder too, like, did those people in there? The hooker would never call the cops. So
yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Nobody does. Or the police eventually show up, I guess, as we keep going on, because the next thing Arnold does is after they get, Duke's car, they literally got to go to I forgot. I'm just drawing a blank. I'm calling him Bill Duke, but what's his character's name? Cooke. That's right. Yeah.
Cooke.
Yeah. So they go there, and I can't remember if this one comes right next, but then like Arnold goes, "We need to go shopping," and this is where they go to the Army surplus store. And I just love how Arnold's just like, I'm just gonna drive this tractor straight through the front entrance, because once again, like, I gotta save my daughter. Who cares about this guy's business?
Yeah, no. Oh, and I told my wife too. I'm like, that's pretty interesting. He just starts this piece of equipment right up. One more thing that he can do is
that the guy probably that like left the work there at the Army surplus. So they're like, did I leave the keys in that tractor next door? Don't worry about it. No one's gonna take that.
Exactly. That's another thing too. Like you know, you remember First Blood Part 2. John Rambo somehow, you know, apparently knows how to pilot helicopters. Well, you know, John Matrix somehow knows how to operate heavy equipment.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I love it.
If you crash to a building, it probably doesn't take a whole lot to figure out. I just got to go forward. Okay, there we go.
Yeah. And you would think, like, did he really need to do that? I feel like there's a back door or something somewhere that he could have just ripped off the hinges, right? You know, like.
Well, and I like he not only does he just break through the glass in the beginning, he decides to go a little bit farther and just plow over some like merchandise right in the front, just some T-shirts and everything like that. Just really just add insult to this guy's whole business.
Yeah, or you know, or maybe you know he was just trying to. Maybe he really didn't know how to operate the thing like he thought, and he just lost control.
couldn't figure out like how to stop it. That's like Arnold himself when he was in Austria and he was in the military because he was a tank driver when he was in it. He accidentally backed one of the tanks through the wall and totally knocked the whole thing out, and then he had to put it all back up together. Whoops.
I didn't know that. That's hilarious. Man.
And now Arnold owns that tank. That tank is sitting at his house in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow. That's a great scene though in the sporting goods store. You know, it's just I think a lot of dudes, a lot of military buffs, doomsday preppers, so on and so forth, outdoorsmen. They look at that scene probably and think like, oh man, I'd have a field day in there. I'd do exactly what Arnold's doing. And at first you're thinking like, is he really gonna need all this crap? Because he's grabbing all kinds of stuff. Like you'd think like he's gonna go get a bunch of weapons, but no, he's grabbing all kinds of stupid shit. And he's grabbing the flippers for his feet.
He's going through there like he won the Toys R Us like pricing. Where like they're like, you get 15 minutes to load up as much as you can in the car. That's like what he's doing. He's just shoving it in there. Like, let's just go. And I like how like in his mind too. Does he know that like you know it's fine to steal stuff if your daughter's in danger? Nobody else's life matters.
Man, you know, you bring that up, the Toys R Us thing. I remember seeing that as a kid, and I remember how those kids would just run down the aisles and just grab this and that and blah blah blah. It makes me wonder if it was scripted, because I know that if that happened to me, I'd have probably just went straight to one aisle,
video games,
the video games, and then like probably the Legos, like and like, well, I still have about 10 minutes, you know, what do I do? You know, I don't know, do they have candy? You know, but,
that's what I always thought. I always just would have went for the expensive stuff. Like no, none of this cheap action figure stuff. I'm going for the big prize.
I would have got all the video games, which would have taken, I guess as a kid, maybe I wouldn't have had so much dexterity in my fingers. I don't know. But I mean, like you'd think like, cause I remember back in the day, Toys R Us had they didn't have games. They had the little like flat things on the pegboards, and you just take that thing and you bring it to the counter and they got the game. Right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I kind of did that. See, and I'm guessing, I always kind of feel that like they probably thought this through, that like, when they set that up, it's like you get one game if you don't just go in there, just plow the whole thing into your cart.
That'd be so lame.
You know, sometimes I even wonder, like, if those things were even real. You know what I mean? Sometimes there's so many of those contests, like, that might have been kind of phony.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know that one that was phony there was one in a video game magazine that you would always see that was like, you could win all this entertainment stuff, and it had like a giant, 36-inch TV, sound system, boom box, a handful of video games, VCR, Laserdisc, all this kind of stuff, and apparently nobody ever won that. That was a scam.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember hearing about that. A lot of the game shows and stuff, they weren't real. Like the prizes they would get like a cash equivalent to what they were saying on the screen. And then any cash you won, you had to pay taxes on it. Any prize you won, you had to pay taxes on it. It's like, dude, there is nothing that you'll get for free on a game show, man. Not that I wouldn't be happy about winning $30,000 and being able to take home 15, but it's just like, that's a downer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the government ain't gonna let you get away with that.
But then here of course is I love that scene too in that sporting goods or the surplus store where he's like looking under the counter like, oh come on, where is it? I'm thinking like, is he looking for like keys? Like, because I'm thinking like, why doesn't he just bash open the case? But then of course he finds it's a button that opens a secret wall where there's all this like military weaponry and stuff. And I love Cindy's reaction. Wow, whoa, like she's just like, oh my god, what is this?
Well, I just feel like I look at that like that's shopping for guns in California in 1985. Because literally that surplus store is somewhere in Los Angeles area. I think it's a real surplus store too, because I want to say I remember on the commentary they've just found. I mean, granted, those guns are placed there, but the general store was really right there somewhere in, I don't know, Burbank or something like that.
And like back then, in 1985, California was not what it is now for gun owners and purchasers and everything. Like, you were not that limited. Like, there were still things that you had to get special licensing for to own, but I mean, like, it was a far cry from what it's like to try to buy a gun today out there. A lot of the things they showed in that movie, like, yeah, if you had the right paperwork, whatever, you could buy whatever, and then it also costs like $5,000 for this or that. But now, so that's kind of hilarious. It was 9 years later, in 1994, that President Clinton signed some legislation. It was a assault weapons ban of 94 that affected the whole country, not just California. And I think it was in 2004 that went away. Most states said, yeah, we don't need this anymore. It didn't help with crime. And California was like, no, we're still keeping it. But
it once again still has not helped with crime. Because it's that dumb one where it's like, I hate to sort of say it, like, if somebody really needs a gun for a crime, they'll get it.
Well, yeah, of course.
Just because Big Five stopped selling it, that doesn't stop them. Like, oh man, you know what? I couldn't get an assault rifle at Big Five anymore. You know what? I think I'm gonna turn a new leaf here and just change my life up. You know?
Yeah,
that doesn't happen. I hate to sort of say it's that thing too. If you take it away, like, let's be honest, there's many of other ways you can do it. If you don't have a gun, well, guess what? You could build a bomb. You know what I mean? They have options.
Oh, I was just thinking, did they go get the schematics for the plane before or after they go get their arsenal?
I'm almost drawing a blank right now for the fact of how many times I've watched this movie. No, I think they go get the schematics, because then the schematics lead to the plane, which is the plane they take off. So I think this does come first.
Yeah, it does.
Which somehow, some way, they load all this stuff into the plane real quickly too. But so after Arnold's shopping spree, and he's grabbing all kinds of stuff, including a rocket launcher and assault rifles and everything like that, just loaded in ammunition. I mean, he's got, who knows, like $25,000 worth of 80s money, if not more, worth of stuff from this guy's shop, And of course, the police show up all of a sudden. You would have thought John Matrix would have been like, you know what? All this carnage and stuff like that, something's bound to happen. But
not only that, but he just beat up like 50 cops, and now like 3 show up, and he's like, oh, crap.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they do have guns. I don't know. I guess you could say the other ones were mall cops. These are now more actual cops.
That's true.
But for some reason they don't notice Cindy. She just literally sneaks out the back with an arsenal and a Cadillac, and nobody questions that. So Arnold pretty much gets taken away like in the SWAT van, and and is held prisoner there for a second as Cindy comes up behind him in the Cadillac. And I love that one dude's line, because she pulls up next to them, he's just kind of checking it out and whatnot, and the guy's sitting there, passenger, the cop, he looks over, the other guy goes, hooker. One word.
It's hilarious. It's like, are you sure, man? You think this woman that's in like flight attendant clothes
driving a
Cadillac is a hooker? But hey, you never know, I guess.
Yeah.
And oh, I love it. And then she stops, of course, gets her rocket launcher. The guy's like, oh, I think she's got something for us. And she uses it wrong, blows up like a phone booth or some crap behind her, or another car. Or whatever.
Yeah, shoots behind, and then she flips it around. 'Cause you literally have like the Resident Evil style 4 rocket launcher shot thing going on, and fires that off and hits it perfectly, because that could have been very deadly.
I'm thinking like, wow, what a bold move to take, and using a rocket launcher to shoot this freaking paddy wagon. Like this could have been the final scene of Commando.
Yeah, John Matrix was killed inside.
I mean, he's a badass dude. I just don't know if he's rocket proof.
Yeah.
And then of course, like, the 2 cops are alive. John Matrix is alive. And like how he comes out like a freaking. It was like one of those cartoon, like Bugs Bunny putting his finger in the end of a shotgun barrel, and it blows up in the other guy's face, and he's just like all black and smoking, you know, like
Yeah.
that's John Matrix right there. Oh, what happened? You know, I'm like,
Kicks the door open, walks out. Fine.
I think you should probably be a little more hurt than that. But it's hilarious. Like that, not a scratch on him. But then, of course, when he's in Val Verde, you know, he's sitting there patching up a bullet wound, like, oh, you know.
Yeah, rocket launch. It's okay. It has like those like old fashioned like movie physics where it's like, well, he was in a protective environment. You know, it doesn't matter what happens on the interior of it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, he was protected. You know, and she shot underneath. It just made the tire flip over, so it just landed on its side. But they get out there, and I love because like General Kirby comes back and like he goes, "Yep, this looks like John Matrix's mess," and they're standing out there with the cops and whatnot. Just imagine like, here's my government credit card, and that'll pay for all this. No worries.
And they do the same thing too. Another parallel between this and First Blood, you know, is Trautman constantly is talking about like you can't go after them, can't go after. You're gonna start another world war, you know, and all this. And then here's General Kirby, you know, like, well, what should we prepare for? World War III, you know.
Some of General Kirby's lines too, the way that they're shot in the movie, I feel like they're almost like inserted in because it doesn't almost feel like he was talking to the person right there. They're always like hard cuts to him.
Yeah,
like they're like, we need to get this line. We're like, oh, we forgot it. We'll just get it afterwards and then just cut it in.
Yeah, it's like General Kirby's almost like to me like Colonel Trautman from Wish, you know.
Yeah, well, because in a sense, Commando's realistically like Arnold Schwarzenegger's Rambo. Though strangely, I like it more than Rambo. That's probably just because I like, you know, Arnold more. But that's not saying anything against Rambo because I love the living daylights out of Rambo 2 and everything. But you know, Commando.
No, just kind of like I was saying, like they're like polar opposites of the same guy. You know, like if everything went well in life for Rambo, you know, he'd have been probably a John Matrix guy living in an awesome house in Southern California. In the 80s.
And Trautman coming by and just literally paying for any damages and anything along the way that he did.
It's like you got two Vietnam veterans that were in special forces. One of them got sent to Vietnam. The other one got sent to Alaska.
Yeah, like that kind of thing. Or all those other countries that John Matrix mentions. Yeah. You know? Or it's the difference of the guys who went to Vietnam and it was hell, or the guys that went to Vietnam and thought it was great. You know?
Yeah. Whatever. but yeah, and so they get all their arsenal, or Cindy of course rescues Matrix, and they get him back. And meanwhile, what we haven't really talked much about is they pan back and forth a few times before Arnold finally gets to the island of his daughter. God, I forgot her name.
Yeah, Jenny.
So they show her here and there, and nothing really is going on. She's being held captive. She tries to kind of finagle like an escape. Like they have a door boarded up, and she somehow takes the doorknob off the door and uses the spindle inside of it to pry one of the boards off so she can get out of there. But every now and then, like the first couple scenes they show her, she's just kind of like sitting down and crying and whatever. And but they go back and forth between Bennet talking with the guy that hired him for free, apparently.
Yeah, because he just wants to kill Matrix. It's funny because I like how they almost don't really explain
there's
it.
Sexual tension there, he's in love with Matrix.
Yeah, and they never explain really why he dislikes him. He just knows at some point Matrix got rid of him, probably because he was too weird.
He kicked him out of his unit.
He kicked him out of his unit, but they're like, we never go into more details than that, it seems like.
Matrix said that he liked killing too much.
No, there was that too, I guess. Yeah.
And but that's it. That's still kind of vague.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. That's about it. There's no flashbacks. There's none of that.
And I just, again, I love how the dude Vernon Wells did such a good job being a maniac. Mm-hmm. And just for I want to say campiness of it, like his character is silly. He really is. Like he plays a great villain. He's insane, and he is physically dominating in a sense. But you would think for the character, for his profile of former special forces and stuff, I could picture I don't know, maybe Dolph Lundgren.
Well, this is the thing I don't understand too. Okay, so you're with Arnold Schwarzenegger. why doesn't Arnold Schwarzenegger like train? I even thought this when I was a kid, like just train Vernon Wells for like 8 weeks. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because it almost just kind of has a thing like, you know, like if he was battling against like Mel Gibson or anything like that, he would look pretty dominating. But of course, when you go against Arnold, you're going to always look a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
But it took 8 weeks for Franco Columbo to get Sylvester Stallone into Rambo shape. Like, why? You know, I bet you Vernon Wells could in 8 weeks get pretty darn well too from Arnold, or Franco even helping out as well. Like, I don't, you know what I mean?
It's like, why is he fat? That's just what I kept wondering.
Yeah, it's like one of those. And realistically, he's probably in like normal shape, but just normal shape compared to Arnold is not going to look. It's going to look like it's drastically different.
There's that. Because honestly, when you think about it, it's not like Bill Duke was much different.
No, it's just one of those ones you think all those guys would almost just be like, we're going to go through the Arnold boot camp, you know?
Yeah.
and get close. I think there's always that thing too at the time where it's like, well, I got to make sure that I'm bigger than everybody else, you know. I know that Bill Duke talked about it like in Predator, because they set up like Arnold brought like 2, you know, workout stations and like, you know, trailers or whatever like that, and everybody would get up at like 4 a.m. and go work out there and so on, and Jesse Ventura would try to make sure he went there first so he looked like he was working out harder than Arnold, you know, and so on. And Bill Duke's like, I did that for about a week and then I stopped going. You know, Carl Weathers is the one guy that always does have like almost like the body that can literally rival Arnold and Stallone, literally, actually probably even more sometimes.
Well, it's like that famous shot from Predator. You know, doing the handshake, whatever. That's Carl
Weathers looks like if he didn't do acting, he almost could have been, you know, a candidate for Mr. Olympia. Yeah, totally. And the one thing too about acting wise, I always think Carl Weathers is like literally like the top tier actor out of all those guys in the 80s. Like, he's a legitimately really good actor. But the sad thing is he always kind of got the second fiddle on so many things. I mean, he's either like the side character. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but he's cool. He's Apollo Creed and everything like that. But whenever he got his starring role movies, they were always a little bit less. It was just like there was Action Jackson, and then there was
I love Action Jackson.
It's still really good. Don't get me wrong, I like it, but I always feel like it could have been just even better. Like somebody needed to give pretty much Carl Weathers like a Commando like role. That's what he needed, really. You know, or there is one where it's like and once again he's the second character in it, but there's one where it's him and Hulk Hogan. They're made for TV movies, but they're actually still pretty good.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that.
And there's 2 of them, and then the third lady in it is Gene Simmons' wife from Kiss. Another Kiss reference.
Wow. but yeah, so anyway, so he goes back and forth. Bennet and the guy who hired him for free to I think it's General Arius. Yeah. Hired him to, you know, kidnap the daughter and whatnot. But he's going back and forth, like kind of taunting the guy. You know, like, you know, your soldiers they're weak. You know, they think they're scary. They're not scary. You know who's scary? Matrix. I'm not scared of them. You know, and.
He kind of makes us think about like, you know, if me and Matrix were here, we would kill all your soldiers. We'd kick all their asses.
And he talks about it like he was best friends with John Matrix. You know, like we did everything together. We totally smoked these guys. We could beat them, no problem. You know, and you got 100 guys. Well, we got 102 guys. You know, like like it's just so silly. And the guy finally, he's probably like a moment of like, would you just shut the hell up? Like, like, you know what? You're scared of Matrix. You know. And I think did he say like, yeah, I am, or something?
Yeah, because he's like, I'm smart. That's why I am scared of him. You know.
Which would
maybe that's
like,
sort of it. Maybe the thing is that Vernon Wells' character literally was like Matrix's, or like he thought that he was best friends with Matrix, and then Matrix kind of like, you know, this guy's a little weird. I gotta get some distance here. You know.
It's like his rival, you know, and like he did it for free because, you know, he just wanted like if he was smart, he wouldn't have kidnapped the daughter, because then he knew that Matrix would come and save his daughter and kill him and all that. It's like, I don't know. Bennett's just a weird guy, but yeah, like you said, that's I guess got to be why he kicked him out. But yeah,
and maybe he knows he's gonna lose, so he wants to go down in like an epic suicide kind of way. But like, you know, almost like I want to go down in battle from Matrix, the only guy that I feel would be worthy to defeat me.
Yeah, and but yeah, so Arnold shows up and at the island with the help of Cindy, who pilots this plane they found on the water.
Yeah, after they grab the schematics as well too, they get that.
Yeah.
They figure out where it is, the island is. They get this plane. Of course, some guys come shooting at them in there, and they take off. And I always think it's funny because Cindy makes a comment of, she's like, "This plane is so old and ragged and beat up," and I was like, "It doesn't look that bad."
No,
even in like 1985, she's making it feel like this, like they got in a 1930s plane and they're taking off.
One thing I love about that scene too, when they're getting in the plane, is these henchmen are trying to kill him. You know, they're driving on the dock with a Jeep. They're driving down the dock in this Jeep, shooting at him, missing, and Arnold's shooting back too.
Like a Mac 10 or something that has such great accuracy.
Like
because Arnold he could probably hold it stiff.
Yeah, he's shooting the thing and not hitting him for a while. When he finally does, the Jeep just goes in the water anyway. Like, even if he missed like those last couple rounds, they were already right in the water. But it was just kind of a funny scene there.
Well, they probably thought, they're like, if we don't die, I'm going to hit the brakes at the last second. It's going to look real cool. And then, of course, they died, and then they weren't able to do it.
But yeah, then they fly to the island. She almost crashes into some buildings on the way out, but he pulls up on the control, and they get out of there. And then
you get a cool little cameo right here too, because Bill Paxton comes in on the radar, radar guy, who's like, hey, you're an unidentified flying, and whatever, this area, Yeah,
he wants them to exit the airspace or they're going to shoot him down. And of course he's like, look, call General Kirby, he knows what's going on. And all I'm thinking about is like all the sovereign citizen videos that I've seen, like police officer videos where, they pull somebody over and they're like, no, call officer so-and-so. They know exactly what's going on. And they're like, okay, yeah, why don't you just step out of the car, and
well, that's what happens to John Matrix when he's in the paddy wagon. He literally tells the police officers, just call General Matrix, call General Kirby, and the guy's like, yeah, sure, whatever, buddy.
And here's also what I'm thinking: why didn't John Matrix call General Kirby?
Yeah, exactly. Just like
you're like so many opportunities where he could just be like, hey,
yeah, well,
I got my daughter. You want to come pick me up and we'll go to this island? Like,
well, the only phone booth they found, he ripped it up and chucked it. But yeah, could have called from the hotel. I don't know, maybe he lost the number. This back in the day, maybe didn't have it on. He only had it on speed dial, so he didn't remember it very well.
Oh, once again, it's just like I said, in the beginning of the movie, like, I don't even think they were that far away. General Kirby's that far away when they started killing the two guys that he left there. It's like you didn't think he'd be like, "Hey, turn around."
Yeah, I heard something.
But hey, we wouldn't have the movie if things would have made sense.
Yeah, General Kirby's always got to be a couple steps behind, and he's just got to be making this up on his own. Just be like, "Yep, that looks like Matrix's work."
He's not even a general. He's just he's not in the military anymore. He stole the chopper, and these other two guys weren't really special forces. They were just guys that he hired.
Next time you get pulled over by the police, you should just really go, hey, call General Kirby.
No kidding. But yeah, they flow below radar or whatever. Get
Bill
out.
Paxton loses them.
Yeah, and then they get to the island. He gets out almost naked, because he's got to be naked to get to the shore and then put all his gear on with his body paint and everything. And
show off the muscle. You see, you always got to have that scene too in the 80s one where you got to show off the build, because that kind of goes away in the 90s. In the 90s, everybody kind of keeps their shirt back on again.
Yeah.
But
it's because I think people started realizing that nobody in these roles runs around without shirts on while they're killing people.
Yeah.
But but yeah, he unleashes hell. He does his own version of First Blood Part 2, destroying this whole fortress.
Putting out the claymores everywhere and blowing up everything.
Blowing up 100 square miles of everything with a single claymore. And just all that awesome. It's such an awesome part of the movie. It's such a, like I said, I think we talked about it, I think they were discussing it in that interview too. Like it sets such a precedent for the movies that would follow, with just how action packed it was. It really reinforces the title Commando, and he just kills everyone. defeats this entire army.
Yeah, it's so badass, and it's that scene's one of the best ones too, because it reminds me. It sounds weird. There's two other movies that kind of remind me that have a similar scene to Commando, one before and kind of one after. But it's Beverly Hills Cop. Like the ending scene of Beverly Hills Cop feels like Commando, but like very light. You know, when they kind of storm into that dude's place at the very end. And then Roadhouse kind of has a scene like that too, when Dalton comes flying in there when he shoots like the whatever, I was gonna say the Mercedes, and it comes shooting in like a rocket, and then he comes in and kills everybody with the shotgun and everything like that. You know, of course, that's, you know, John Matrix comes in with everything from rocket launchers, machine gun fire. Then he goes in that cool scene where he's at the woodshed and he goes inside there and he takes like the saw blades and chucks it at those guys and slices one dude's head half off, which I think that's the one shot that's added in there too, is when the dude's head gets sliced like a quarter of the way off.
Yeah.
I can't remember if the arm. I think the arm's in the original version, though. I want to say that was.
I think it was, but I don't remember. It's been a while since I saw
Yeah, because I've been watching this director's cut one the last handful of years. Probably the next time I go to watch this, I should watch the original one again just to reinforce what that was.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Because that's like one of the most violent ones in there. Because then he slices one dude's arm off. You know, he stabs another guy with a pitchfork and everything like that. It's pretty badass.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. And you know, it was like a very Groundskeeper Willie like.
Yeah, just going down on his people.
But yeah, and then he makes his way into the mansion, kills the general.
Yeah, takes him off the shotgun. He's blowing people away. That's the part right there. It reminds me of Roadhouse a lot. Was when the shot, or Roadhouse reminds me of Commando technically, but you know.
Yeah, no, great scene. And I love the scenes too, where like these guys are just like running on the rooftop, like, you know, let me expose myself as much as possible here. You know, like it's just so funny. And we were watching the scenes of him, you know, like blowing everybody away in this mansion property. And my wife's like, she's like, these guys that are getting blown up, those are not like from explosions. She's like, those are like acrobats, like doing like jumping. And
well, that's how you do an explosion back in the day, is literally you have the bomb go off and another guy just pretty much launches off like a trampoline, you know.
Yeah. Hilarious. And
where, like by Rambo 4, then you just see body parts going everywhere. And, like you got all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, then so he takes out the general and then you know, his daughter escaped through the hole in the wall that she made. And Bennet, you know, is like, what? You know, and
he's there like 20 seconds too late.
Yeah. And it chases after her and finally snags her. And then she, that's when Arnold pretty much shows up, and Bennet, you know, he's got her as a hostage and pointing his gun at Matrix. And of course, this is where he starts coaxing him into fighting him instead of shooting. And
they're down in the boiler room area.
Yeah. Yeah. Bennet goes crazy. You know, that's where he really plays a great maniac. It's like, he's playing into the temptation there. It's like it's so weird. It's almost like a sexual predator that like they're claiming like, no, I'm not into that anymore. I'm they're like, oh, come on, it's right here. And they're like, oh, okay. You know, that's what Bennet was acting like when Schwarzenegger's like, come on. Yeah. You know, you can't do it. You don't, like, just throw away the gun, just you and me. And he's like, I don't need this gun. You know, and he chucks it out. It's going nuts. And it was a good fight scene, you know, lasted a little, like a pretty good length, you know.
They fight with knives first, and it progresses all the way to fists and everything like that, you know, back and forth, you know, good struggle there. Bennet gets the upper hand at some point, you know, but we all know Arnold's going to win. Oh, yeah.
He finally, you know, rips this pipe out of the wall and chucks it at him while he's laying up against like another pipe or something that's got steam in it.
Yeah, big old vat of steam.
Yeah. Bennet let off some steam.
Yeah, and it's such a badass scene. I always think about, no matter how many times I've seen it, because the camera like literally trucks backwards, and you see Bennet's holding on to this pipe, and it's sticking out of him, and as it trucks back, you see the steam shooting out. It's like, it's such a cool special effect. Just like, finish that dude off. It's like literally like a Mortal Kombat fatality.
Yeah, it did. One of the stage fatality.
Yeah. You know, and so that carnage of like, I can't remember, like 90 plus like people dead just so he could get his daughter back. Blew up an entire island.
No, he saved his daughter, and he also saved Val Verde's, and defeated all these people. And then, of course, the military shows up,
Yeah, a little too late.
Save any for us, John? Only bodies, and and I love how right there, I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it was the same way in the original cut, where he's like, you got to come back to your unit, John. You just have to, we need you back, and he's like, no,
no chance.
Like, nope. It was like I'm done, and he's walking away, and then the general, of course, like it was so like like was this peer pressure? It's kind of like Trautman and
yeah, Trautman just keeps coming back. John, I got another mission for you. I think you're going to be really perfect for this. I know you've just given up, but how about Afghanistan? How about Uzbekistan? Let's battle some Australians for once.
Yeah, it's just such a like a ridiculous line, like he's like trying to pressure him or trying to like, I don't know, he's just kind of being an asshole, I guess, like after he says like, I'm done, I'm not coming back. He's like, yeah, until next time. Right. And that's when he turns around. He looks at Cindy, looks at his daughter. He's like, no chance. That's so, the 80s cheese is so prevalent there. But
and then you get that badass Duran Duran song. Well, it's not Duran Duran, but it's the singer of Duran Duran. But I fucking love that song. It's 80s as all can be, but it's like,
oh yeah,
bam bam, shh, shh, bam bam, and it's just like walking back to the plane.
Yep. And then of course, like, I guess it's just okay. She stole a plane and he left visa free and just got
the daughter back and like, going. We don't need to know more. That's it.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna lie. I would love to see a sequel to the movie. I don't know if that's really what's the word. I don't know how likely it is, but
well, Arnold just announced at the Arnold Classic that he still says he wants to do Commando 2, Conan, King Conan, and some other Terminator, of course, which. I think cool. I mean, I'm wrong. Anything Arnold comes out with, I want to see because I love Arnold. He's my all-time favorite actor, no matter what. I kind of wish that he would have done this when he had the good resurgence of his acting or his action movies in a sense, like right when he was done with being a governor in California, and like from like 2009, pretty much like Expendables 2 to like 2000, like I don't know, I'm just gonna say like 14, 15 era. He had all these great action movies in there, like he had like oh, I'm just drawing a blank all of a sudden, but there's the one where he's the sheriff and he's got to stop there. I just drew a total blank all of a sudden on that one.
I know exactly what film you're talking about. God, I can't think of the
Johnny
name.
Knoxville. I don't know why. I just had the worst part. It's like the middle of the day and like you just like space out or whatnot. But he had that one. Of course, he had like Escape Plan with
The Last Stand.
Yeah, Last Stand. There we go.
2013.
So he had that one. He had Escape Plan with Stallone, which is a cool one. Even the other Terminators, like Genesis, was still really fun.
Yeah.
He had Sabotage, which was another great one there as well, too. And that was the time period where I think he really should have done those sequels if he was going to do a Commando 2 or anything like that, because that was a perfect time where you could still do it and so on. I hate to start now. Now it's like one of those ones like cool. Like the closest thing he's going to be is he'll be, General Kirby. That's I feel like who he'd be able to play nowadays, and maybe fire a few rounds off here and there, kind of like Chuck Norris's character in like Expendables 2, where he sort of shows up and everything's blowing up.
Yeah, man, I gotta say I don't know if you ever watched Kung Fury on Netflix.
I did see that one. Yeah.
So they made a Kung Fury 2, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's in it.
I saw that has that come out yet though?
No, and who knows if it ever will. The film's completed, but they it's in like development hell. There's legal issues apparently, and they're just who knows? Who knows? It's just it pisses me off because I loved that movie, the first one. I thought it was so ridiculous and hilarious.
Yeah.
And it was short, it's only like 20
minutes. Yeah. It's pretty much just like it's like a pilot episode, realistically.
But I don't know if that ever comes out, we'll get a new Arnold film that was made not this year. It was made in 2019. 2019 post-production stopped in 2020.
Yeah.
But anyway,
yeah, interesting.
lawsuit with investors. Indefinitely delayed.
Yeah.
Oh, who knows? Whatever.
But yeah, it's like one of those ones. So I don't know. I mean, whatever Arnold does, as I said, I'm down for, and so on like that. But I do feel like the good window for being able to do a Commando 2, kind of passed. In a sense, the time period he should have done it would have been great. Like, following after Rambo 4 and all that kind of stuff. You know, because that would have been the ideal time. Because that's what I picture it feeling like. I picture like Commando 2 actually kind of feeling like Rambo 4, but, more Arnold-like. So not nearly as, dark and serious, but a little bit more fun, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, but, well, who knows? Time will tell.
As I said, if there is a Commando 2, I'm 100% there to see what it is, but, we'll just have to go there. But at the end of the day, I actually almost think that Commando might be my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, the more I kind of think about it. I always kind of rotate them between which ones I like the most. Like, I'll say, like, my top 5 Schwarzenegger movies, no specific order, but this is what they've kind of been for a long time, is Commando, Total Recall, Last Action Hero, True Lies, and probably Predator. I would say it's probably those are like the 5 I probably like the most. Which is funny because I actually don't have a Conan or a Terminator in my top 5. Even though don't get me wrong, I love those movies, but I like the other ones just a fraction.
I love those films, but I'll say this: I don't think Terminator is one of Arnold's best films. I think it's just a very iconic film. His lines are very minimal. His presence is what makes his character, not so much his acting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and it's an ensemble one. You got Linda Hamilton, you got Michael Biehn, you got all kinds of other people in there, and so on like that too. That's why I think Commando is kind of the first movie where it's like Arnold gets to be Arnold. That this is Arnold the star, in a movie. Where everything else beforehand, he's playing a character, playing Conan, he's playing the Terminator, and even the other action movies that he sort of did and other stuff were more like experimental stuff. Even in Stay Hungry, it's like his character is a little bit different in that than what you'd think Arnold would be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, no, I would have to sit and think for a while to think of my other favorite, my other 4 in my top 5, but Commando is my favorite Arnold film. Ever since I think it was the first Arnold movie I saw all the way through, action Arnold movie I saw all the way through, because I'd seen like Jingle All the Way when I was a kid, and I love that movie.
That was a good one.
But this is the first action movie with him that I'd seen all the way through, legitimately, not a TNT special, and I was just like, dude, this movie rocks, dude. And like, it was one of those ones where I wanted to watch it again so bad, but this is like 2001, and I'm watching whatever shows up on the movie channel, so. Yep.
Well, that's how I caught this one initially too, is, back in the day, when I was looking for Arnold movies, I used to get the TV guide, and I would go through it, because in the back they'd have like a glossary section that told you all the movies, and then it would give you like what day and what time and what channel.
What time, yep.
And so I would go in there and I'd find all the ones that I hadn't seen and so on like that. So that's how I like would catch up on the stuff. And I remember I found Commando in there, and Commando might have been like, I probably would have saw like 10 Arnold Schwarzenegger movies by that point, by the time, because I almost got the Commando, not like just later as far as Arnold does, and I think I found it like on Stars Action or one of those kind of channels. So I got in the good copy, not TNT's cut version or anything like that. And I just remember watching it at night and just being like, man, this is so good. I just love the living, like, first time watching it was already like, oh, this is instant classic.
Yeah, no, you got it, man.
But yeah, nothing but the best of Arnold, and there's always so much more and so on like that. But any parting thoughts on Commando and all that glorious good times?
Just don't go Commando. But
or do when you're watching it. Why not?
When you're watching, sure, at home and in the safety of your drawn shades. Do
you ever think anybody gets confused if they did a Commando like rescreening and some guy walks in like, oh, well, I thought this was a different kind of party.
That'd be kind of funny. Or like the Ratchet and Clank game Going Commando. I don't know. But
yeah, exactly. And then all the stuff. But yeah, this is almost like, not only is it the definitive Arnold movie, but I think it's also one of the most definitive 80s action films you can watch.
Oh, for sure.
Well worth just having in the collection more than anything else, But I own it so many times over. Laserdisc, VHS, digital, you name it, I got it. But till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Dave Candido.
And we'll see you some other time.